Start your day the joyful way. It's your weekday morning talk show inviting you to start your day with a triple shot of good vibes. And now here's your host, the Queen of Joy herself, Jessica Dugas. The Queen of Joy is here on this beautiful Wednesday morning. Happy hump day, everybody. It is Wednesday, May the 4th. Be with you. 2022, it is 7 a.m. Central Time, and you're watching Project Joy Live, your triple shot of good vibes every weekday morning with me, Jessica Dugas. I'm so excited that you're here today. We have another incredible series starting today. So good. Cannot wait to have a friend and just one of the most incredible people I know joining us on Wednesdays throughout the month of May for a series about professional freedom, magnetizing and monetizing your professional freedom. And this morning, we're going to be talking about dislodging the toxic myths holding you back. Really excited about that coming up here in a little bit. Listen, if you're joining us live or on the replay, I would love for you to head over to the comment section, say hello, say good morning. Let us know what is bringing you joy today, because that's what the show is about. What is bringing you joy? I have a lot bringing me joy today. Feeling good this morning. Was feeling amazing yesterday evening, which is not like me for the evening, but we'll go with it. We had an incredible episode of My Way. Eleanor Stutz it's been an absolute pioneer, okay? A pioneer in the world of sales. She was a woman in sales before women in sales was a thing, and had some incredible stories to share last night. I left the interview going, this is literally one of the best conversations I have ever had in the history of the Breakthrough Show Network. And that is saying a lot. It's saying a lot. And it really does, with these interviews, with these conversations, I don't even like calling them interviews. They're conversations. It feels like conversations between friends. Excuse me, I'm all caught up in my own words today. It really does take two to tango. It takes a lot of things. There are a lot of layers, a lot of things that I feel like make a really great show. And, you have ease of conversation, you have guest experience, you have host being comfortable with whatever the topic is, or sometimes that discomfort with the topic makes a great show as well. But just, I think, ease of the topic, there was so many different things I think that come into play with creating a good show. And last night really was one for the books. It was incredible. If you sell in your life at all, which one does? It highly recommend. So at any rate, it bringing me so much joy this morning, so much joy that if you get a chance to take a moment and watch that episode. You're going to love it. It was incredible. So special thank you to Eleanor Stutz for that amazing episode last night. Will be one of my most memorable forever and ever. So thank you for that. Also bringing me joy today. Have you guys been keeping up with has anybody been watching the whole saga with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard? So let me say that my joy is not from what's going on between them. They had a toxic relationship. This has been very clear the last couple of weeks in the proceedings that we've seen online. And it's been one of those situations where I don't like the situation. However, I have been so joyful in watching a fellow YouTuber, a fellow live streamer, Emily D. Baker, who was an attorney back in the day. And she's still a licensed attorney, but she does a lot of this commentary now. And it's so funny. She calls herself like a sports commentator, and the sport is court. But I have been so fascinated by the processes behind the scenes. And this goes back to, okay, I promised you guys that at one point I would show this. So here we are with the joy. Do you guys remember me talking about a red book that I used to take to middle school to have people sign from like 6th to 8th grade? Okay, I found, look, y'all, it's faded and falling apart. Okay, found this in the garage. And in the back here, we're gonna have a moment and talk about Aquanet hairspray. Okay, in the back here, I have the photo that was included in the paper when I made the student of the month. Okay, so we're gonna show this for a moment. Okay, hello, Aquanet hairspray. Yes, wonderful. So we had the privilege of, when this happened, when we got student of the month, that they interviewed us for the paper. And they said to me that one fateful question that they all ask us at that age when we know nothing about what our lives are shaping up to be: what do you want to be when you grow up, Jessica? And I said, I want to be a singer or a lawyer. Yes, that is what I want to be. I should have been the singing lawyer is what I should have been. Hindsight is 2020 where branding is concerned. But I have been fascinated behind with this court case on the TV and all of that. But I don't watch the actual case by itself. I watch a commentary from an attorney because I want to know why. Like, I want to know why they're doing some certain things. What is the meaning behind, what does this mean, these big words that they're using, and why? And so I've been fascinated. Attorney Emily D. Baker is amazing. Love her commentary. And yesterday's complete SHIT show in court was just something. It was a whole mood. And my daughter even got so into it and so amused by what was going on. She went out and listened to it while she was on the treadmill for an hour. Okay. She loves to go out and walk on the treadmill. She had the court case on, and it gave us something to talk about. So the circumstances of the case are absolutely ridiculous and do not bring me joy at all. But I love the commentary. I love watching the behind the scenes of what was going on. And why the things happen the way they do. I'm fascinated. So I go back to that moment where they asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? So the last, couple days, I have been completely immersed in this world that I never went on to be. So listen, I'm excited that our guest that I mentioned earlier has a background in law as well, because I will surely ask him a question when we get started too. So what else is going on today? Let me know if you're here, what's bringing you joy as well. It is apparently in national days. Let me know if you are celebrating anything today. Let me know that. It is national days. It is bird day. Do you like birds? I haven't really given much thought to it, to be honest with you, but I will tell you this story. When we bought this house, when we came to tour it for the first time, this shelf behind me, the woman that lived here was in love apparently with cardinals, and there were cardinals everywhere. Now, my grandmother's favorite bird was cardinal, so of course that was something that caught my eye. And you can see the light coming in over here. You can actually see in my glasses how many windows we have over there, but there's butterfly gardens and everything outside these windows, and there were cardinals everywhere. And I just felt like my grandmother was with me, as I've told this story before, as we were picking out the house. So that's the only thing I think of when it comes to birds. But let me know if you guys like birds as well. It's also, as I mentioned, May the 4th be with you, Star Wars Day. Are you a Star Wars fan? Let me know. It is also two things with oranges today. Oranges, as we know, are so good for us. Orange Juice Day. Which I love orange juice. And it is also Candied Orange Peel Day. Now, I have had candied orange peel as a garnish or whatever on desserts, but I've never just eaten Candied orange peel. Is this a thing people do? Let me know, because I have no idea. I have no earthly idea. Let's check in with who's here this morning. Judith Finneran is here today. She says, good morning, Jessica. What's bringing me joy is spending wonderful, fun times with my family. I know, Judith, you're still enjoying the sun of Florida. Let me know how long you're going to be there. I can't remember for the life of it. Listen, I don't even know where I am today, let alone anybody else. Let me know how long you're going to be there. Juju is here this morning. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Miss Angelique is here today. Good morning. It's good to see you. Silver Fox Talks. That's Miss DJ joining us this morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good to see you. And she is here for the Scott. Aren't we all? Aren't we all today? And she says, I like birds, thinking of trying to take pics on them. I enjoy watching them out my window. I just haven't given a whole lot of thought to birds other than recognizing them when I see them out. Judith says, may the 4th be with you today. Absolutely. Robin says, I have a cardinal that hangs out in my yard and an eagle at the end of my street. Oh, that must be nice. You know what's outside a lot here? So I went out the other morning for the sunrise because I was going to go outside and be all witchy woo woo under the new moon the other night, but it was raining and, I would have melted. And so I didn't go outside. So I went outside the next morning for sunrise. And the birds that are really loud out here are the mourning doves. Holy cow. That's all you hear on the video I took is the mourning doves. And I love that little hoo hoo sound. It's beautiful. It's probably not what they actually sound like, but anyway, I gave it my best shot. So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that for sure. Listen, we're going to take a quick break, you guys, and we are going to be back after this with our fabulous guest today. I am very excited to hear from our friend Scott Mason. So we will be right back after this. Don't go anywhere. It's going to be really good. We'll be right back.
Breakthroughs are about more than you might think. They're about discovering who you are, digging deep, reaching to the core of your soul. They're about healing yourself, understanding your beliefs, creating a ripple effect. And it's not just those initial moments that matter. It's about using them to bring more joy into our own lives and the lives of others. It's about having fun, letting loose, enjoying every moment life has to offer. It's about finding a safe space. It's about creating connection. Join us each and every day for exclusive programming, special events, and a community to call home, where we invite you to explore, change the way you look at and live your life, and go beyond the breakthrough. So we ask you, are you ready? We'll see you online at thebreakthroughshow.com.
Welcome back to Project Joy Live. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas. Today is May the 4th be with you, 2022. It is 7:16 a.m. Central Time currently. I'm super excited for our guest today. Are you guys ready? Let's talk about this. His background is in law. He's a transformational coach for leaders. He is the myth slayer. He is the most charismatic speaker you will ever meet on the entire planet. Please welcome my friend and fellow Donna Summer enthusiast, Scott Mason. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning, Miss Jessica Dugas. How are you? Donna Summer.
Yes.
You mentioned Donna Summer at the top of the hour. I love it.
Can we not have a show where you and I are together where we don't mention it is the question.
It just wouldn't be the same. And by the way, I have to say that was the best intro monologue I have heard in a long time. You bring it. And you mentioned my homegirl, the Silver Fox. It is good to be here.
Yes. I'm so glad to and I debated whether your intro music should be right?
Yeah. Thank you for that.
I love it. Yes, everybody's so excited to have you here today. We are going to have you here every Wednesday morning during the month of May. I can't believe it. It's going to be amazing. And he's going to be a guest as well on My Way in June.
This is going to be a real privilege. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yes, Donna Summer was such an icon. Absolutely. Believe it. Okay, so I gave you the little bit of my spiel intro, but I want to give everybody, all of our series folks, the opportunity this week to introduce themselves. Tell everybody what you want them to know about you, Scott Mason.
I've lived a life that I have really gone through and made major transformations through. And I feel privileged to be in the position to be able to share the things that I've learned along the way, combined with the wisdom of thousands of years worth of stories that have guided me, and I hope can guide others as well. So that's why it was such a privilege to be able to be here. I work with executives or seasoned entrepreneurs who are feeling stuck or stagnant in their careers, looking for a change. They don't necessarily know how to move into a life that's more purposeful or more meaningful, or maybe they've worked for huge organizations their whole lives. They want to try entrepreneurship and they don't know how. I work with them to dislodge the toxic myths that are holding them back, igniting the charisma within so that they can find the one thing I think we all deserve, and which you exemplify, Jessica: professional freedom.
I love it. Yes. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about in our series, which is the magnetizing and monetizing professional freedom. And today specifically, we're talking about dislodging the toxic myths holding us back, which they do. We are human. And it's what happens for sure. But let's talk about what that means for everybody. What does it mean to magnetize and monetize I think many of us know the monetize word, but what does that mean to you to add those things into our professional freedom?
Yeah. First of all, let's talk about what professional freedom is. I'll give a baseline definition of that. I would argue that professional freedom is when you are fully actualizing your providential purpose. In other words, why you are here on this planet. When you are really, really connecting everything that makes you you to the work that you're doing, not only are you going to feel fulfilled, but you're also going to attract the right opportunities to yourself, and ultimately you're going to be able to get paid for it, because we're all here for a reason that has meaning. And if we are connected to our reason that has meaning, our unique existence, then of course the universe itself is going to sustain that. None of us are here for no particular reason. None of us are here for a reason that has no purpose or no actual function in the universe. And connecting to all of that will magnetize, if you play your cards right, the opportunities for you to not only express yourself fully in the universe that way, but to be able to make a living.
Absolutely. And I love how you're using this word purpose, because our friend Casey Berman talks about purpose a lot, and or lack of, or I love going down that rabbit hole with Casey Berman. So what does actual purpose mean to you? Do you feel like you're connected with your purpose? Have you always been? What has that purpose journey looked like for you in all this?
First of all, I do want to say one thing important about purpose, because it is important, I believe, for people to truly find professional freedom to fully express. And by the way, professional freedom doesn't necessarily have to be through entrepreneurship. It could be that you are the best HR manager at the nonprofit or a for-profit organization of your choice, or you are the best personal assistant or the best secretary or the best cafeteria worker that there is in your world, and you are feeling fully expressed that way. So I do want to be very clear. It doesn't necessarily mean any particular thing, or any particular career path. It just means the career path that is right and uniquely right for you. Now, I tie that back into the idea of purpose. Purpose alone doesn't necessarily guarantee that you are in the right place to find professional freedom, because purpose, I believe, is, for professional freedom to truly occur, going to be inextricably tied to what your values are. And if you are simply serving something that you believe is your purpose, but it's not connected to your values, or if it's a purpose, but not connected to your values, then you're really going to struggle and ultimately be unhappy. Purpose, then drilling down a little bit further, is what I call the application of the purpose formula. The purpose formula is, in a mathematical framework, number one, your skills and talents plus your experience times what brings you into a place of providing service. Skills and talents plus experience times service. You've got purpose. I have not always, answering the second part of your question, been tied to my purpose, let alone my values. I have had to transform myself and go on a very difficult journey that way. And that's part of why I feel so strongly about being there for others that have suffered without living any connection to who and what they are and what their unique value that they bring into this world is. And hello, by the way, to everyone who said hi.
I love it. Yes, I was trying to go through everybody. Everybody's been saying hi, Scott. And listen, DJ's like, who doesn't need Scott in their life? Literally no one.
I feel the same about DJ.
Literally no one. I love your perspective on purpose and the skills, talents, and all of that. And I also loved how you talked about professional freedom doesn't necessarily equal entrepreneurship, because that is something that it gets me fired up. I'll be honest with you, Scott, when people say, well, everyone should be an entrepreneur. Well,
Absurd.
I don't like the word should.
Yeah. I think
if everyone
that's
was an entrepreneur, who would check out my groceries at the store? Like,
Thank you. Thank you. Right. Who would be running the government?
Yes. Well,
who would be a judge? How would we have a legal system, since we're talking about law?
Yeah.
Who would be someone working for a hospital? Who would be paving the roads? Let's get real.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, so we're going to talk about today dislodging the toxic myths that hold us back. What toxic myths are you talking about, Scott?
Again, I'm going to step back a little bit and explain some of the terminology here.
Sure.
And then we will talk generally about 5 categories of toxic myths that I believe are important for us to analyze. But an understanding of where that particular framework from which those 5 types of toxic myths emerge needs to be had before any meaning can be extracted from them.
Absolutely.
Now, let's talk about mythology generally. I focus on Greek mythology, but this is applicable across a whole number of traditions. Mythology emerged in the pre-scientific era of our culture. And it emerged to explain a lot of things, everything from the human condition and how to derive true meaning out of the world, to how to direct social behavior, even how to basically explain human psychology. Myths lasted for thousands of years because they spoke to people. And the iconography, the people that are in the myths, or the gods or the goddesses, the heroes, or the situations themselves, have been resonant even into the scientific era, even to this day, because they speak so deeply to who we are and what we are inside. Myths have been analyzed academically and in pop culture by everyone from Jordan Peterson to Joseph Campbell and beyond. And they form the basis of some of the most famous stories of our time. In fact, sometimes these stories have all but ripped them off. Everything from The Lord of the Rings to Game of Thrones, not to mention other sorts of things like The Sopranos, which have mythical elements built into them. And so that goes as to their power and resonance. Those who have studied myths have attempted to categorize them over the course of the many, many years of official mythological studies. And there's no generally accepted categorization of myths because there are so many frameworks through which we can analyze them. But as I've studied them, and for the purposes of their application as a tool of personal transformation, I've identified 5 general types of myths that are toxic and can hold us back. I'm going to name them, and then to the extent you want to, Jessica, we can explore them in more detail. Number 1, the tragic origin myth. The myth that where we started our life ultimately drives its outcomes. Number 2, the ritual myth. That is that the explanations for our actions actually justify them. Because I was abused as a child, I abuse people in my life. That's a ritual myth. Number 3, the apocalyptic myth. That is a myth that our lives or our situations are doomed to failure and tragedy. In other words, our life is basically the end of the world and everything around us is the end of the world. That's the apocalyptic myth. Number 4, the social myth, that other people's expectations of who we are ultimately drive what we become. Mom and dad and everyone else in my family is a doctor, therefore I'm a doctor. No one expects me to be anything other than XYZ. That's what I am. And finally, the underworld myth. That's the sad myth that one's life is destined to exist only in a state of darkness. It might be physical darkness, it might be spiritual darkness, it might be emotional darkness. But it's a belief that you're trapped in metaphorical Hades. And as was the case with the souls of the dead in Greek mythology, you could never escape.
These are good. These are good, everybody. I had to question my spelling on each and every one of those, typing them out really quick. I'm like, oh God.
You got that beautifully. Jessica, you did it just fine. You are not living any toxic myth.
Well, no, I love this. So, okay, let's go back to start from the beginning. Number 1, when we talked about the tragic origin myth, can you give us an example of that? I remember you giving an example of ritual, but I didn't hear one for that. What is an example of the tragic origin myth?
I'll use myself as an example here and everywhere. So, as you know, Jessica, but the audience has no reason to know, I was born in London. My biological mother was in school studying linguistics. My biological father was an immigrant from Trinidad who was studying law. They had an affair. And out popped this cute little face you see here. I was even cuter as a baby, by the way. Unfortunately, they didn't think it was so cute. So they put me up for adoption. And a couple of African Americans from the American Midwest, Kansas, raised me in Kansas. And my father worked for the State Highway Patrol. My mother worked for a dog food factory. I was in a rural part of Kansas. Expectations were not high. And not only that, but because of my ethnic background, I had expectations that were often even lower. For instance, my debate coach once decided to tell the entire class about me. You can teach a monkey how to talk, but you can't teach him how to think. The tragic origin myth was my belief that as someone who couldn't think, per his own teacher that he felt the need to tell the entire class, and as the child of someone who was from Nowheresville and had a background of rejection, as evidenced by the adoption, and then raised in this very working class background, had no future. That was other than maybe working as a shoe store manager in the local mall. Again, if that was someone's purpose and that was the best job that they fully would express themselves in, that would have been right for them, and I applaud them for connecting with that. But that sort of future was the very best that I could imagine for myself. That's an example of the tragic origin myth, and it destroyed me.
Wow. Yeah, I think a lot of us might have those myths for sure. Like I wasn't sure that one applied to me, but now I'm down the rabbit hole, and here we go. Aren't we all? Every time we get together, Scott.
I know it's beautifully awful.
It's wonderful. I love how you mentioned ritual myth. If you want to go, well, let's go down the rabbit hole a little bit with that one.
Yes. The expression of myth is as often as not through ritual, through the behaviors that we engage in over and over. And interestingly enough, some myths exist purely to justify the ritual. It's almost as though the myth exists to create the story that is, and the set of actions that are themselves in turn justified by the myth that was invented to justify the ritual. So there's this circular connection between ritual sometimes and myth. But what happens when that circle begins is that a society, or taking it away from purely a cultural context and into the idea of a personal myth, is that we get caught in behaviors that we feel are totally driven mindlessly by the explanation for them. Mm-hmm. So, taking that again to a personal level, I lived the ritual myth in response to the tragic origin myth. I decided that because I came from nowhere, wasn't that bright, really had no hope for the future, I was going to prove the world wrong. And I moved into the study of law for, among other reasons, the fact that it offered social prestige, it offered money, and it offered power and authority. And I pursued a career in law and executive management, particularly within government, almost as a ritual matter, as a habituated way of thinking, in a way that was aggressive. It was mercenary. It could be brutal because of the myth that I had, because of the myth that that's what I needed to do in order to achieve what I wanted, which was the overcoming of the tragic origin myth. So my behaviors were driven by my justification. I have to be aggressive. I have to get whatever I can. I have to be looking up for Scott and no one else. If you're in my way, too bad. Because the explanation for the myth was that that's what I had to do. I was living out a ritual myth. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because this is one of the myths or the topics we've talked about often on this show. And one of the things that I've talked to people about is checking back in with yourself and see if these rituals that we are doing on a day-to-day basis, do they hold any merit anymore? Yeah. Are they aligned with where we're at right now? And I think about a story that was told to me a long while back about the women that were in the kitchen and they were cooking a big roast. And every time they would go to make the roast, they would cut the end off the roast and put it in the pan. And they asked, the youngest one asked their mother, why are we cutting the end off of this? I don't understand. And then she said, I don't know. It's what my mom always did. And so then they said, well, go ask your grandmother. And so they go to ask the grandmother and said, why are we cutting the end off the roast? And she says, I don't know. It's just what we've always done. Ask your great grandmother. So they go to ask the great grandmother, and the great grandmother says, we cut the end off the roast because at the time we didn't have a pan big enough to fit the roast. So they've been doing it all these years and now they have a bigger pan. For what?
You actually see this in a lot of other personal contexts too, and that reminds me of it. Right? It goes down to even things like, well, what is our faith that we follow? Is it just we're following it because that's what we were raised in, without thinking about whether that's the right one for us? What is the ethical system that we apply in our life? Is that just the one that mom and dad taught without thinking critically about what it is and whether that's really right for you? It could be with regards to a whole host of, what are we cooking? Ritual is expressed in one way or another, primarily as a way of worshiping a deity. When we look at our behaviors, when we look at our thinking, it's important to ask if we feel like ritual myth might be something that you are living, what gods are you worshiping?
What? Okay. That one's going on a pillow this afternoon. All right, Scott, let's talk about number 3, the apocalyptic myth.
It always happens to me. I struggled a lot in my advancement within government. So to give some context here, I started out working in an obscure litigation division of the New York City government in the Bronx. But by the time my government career was over, I was second in command of New York City's entire administrative tribunal system, which brought in $100 million in tax revenue. And I oversaw a significant administrative staff, not to mention hundreds of hearing officers and administrative law judges. Why do I mention that? Because it was not an easy climb for me. A lot of people got ahead in government because maybe they were related to a certain mayor, or maybe they had a mentor that saw the talent and gifts that they had and helped open doors. I never had those things. I had to struggle. And when I faced struggle, I got knocked down a lot. And after a while, I began to, rather than seeing these struggles as ways to be creative or even have some self-admiration for the fact that I had overcome them, I began to view them as almost like an endless series of divine punishments. When I ultimately left the city and moved into nonprofit work, there was a gap between that time. And it was at the end of the Great Recession. There were very, very few jobs available, particularly for senior executives such as myself. And the struggles that I had getting a job, despite the fact that I felt that I was qualified as the best person, every single one of them, I viewed as some sort of punishment that I was getting. I was very severely punished as a child. I was raised in a family that was strictly disciplinarian. And so I tended to view the world in punitive terms. The apocalyptic myth was that no matter what happened in my life, no matter where I was going, some sort of apocalyptic or cruel or punitive outcome was going to be directed at me. And again, that drove and limited my behavior, specifically because I was always acting defensively. And the pathetic part about it, Jessica, was that really looking back on it, I was acting defensively against something that didn't even exist. It was a myth in my skull here.
Yeah, that can be a really tough one to get out of, because when we have that attitude or that outlook that something is going to happen, or the whole world is going to come crumbling down if we do a particular thing or make a particular move, that can freeze us completely. Like we might not do anything at all. And so I love that you bring that one up as well. Let's talk about number 4, the social myth. And then I would love to know if this has become even more of a myth with social media.
Yeah. Who and what we're supposed to be. For instance, a social myth that I did live was that men should look that a certain way if they were attractive or viable as partners on the dating marketplace. And so I spent an inordinate amount of time in my 20s and 30s focused on weightlifting and fitness activities. It was purely a reaction to social expectations. And so social media really can play into this. You see it a lot of times, and I'll give a very tragic example of this once. I knew someone whose real desire, talents, passions lay within the arts. And she just would come to life when you would talk to her about colors and fabrics and textiles and shapes and all of that sort of stuff. She was a lawyer. Why? Well, because mom and dad had told her that's what she needed to be. That's what she was. She was unhappy. She was a bad lawyer, by the way. I believe she may have even ended up being disbarred. That's a terrible outcome for someone who was living a social myth.
That's so good. I mean, we've talked about that often on our, and I'm sure we'll dive into that when you're on My Way next month, of how we're told, you have to do things this way. You have to do this. This is your path. This is the direction you're supposed to go. School, married, kids, die, and school, job, married, kids die. The whole this thing of that's what we're supposed to do.
Well, now that actually is really interesting that you raised that, because you see that actually a lot with regards to marriage. You have to get married to a particular type of person. They need to be of a particular race, a particular socioeconomic background. They need to be of a particular gender. And by the way, how many lives have been ruined because of people living out a social myth around being heterosexual, or at least engaging in heterosexual marriages? Everyone says, well, not everyone, but many people say to LGBTQ people, a marriage is only between a man and a woman, and therefore, if you are not sinful, you're going to be in a heterosexual relationship. Now, I don't know about you, Jessica. If I were a straight woman, I don't know that I would be so ecstatic and excited about marrying a gay man and staking my whole future there. But that is what's happened because people have believed this myth. I'm a gay man, but I need to get married. That's how I express myself. And some heterosexual woman, and this is just an example of men, I'm sure it's happened in reverse too, right, ends up married to someone who doesn't love her back. She might not be able to ultimately, she might not end up conceiving children, or she may end up later down the road in a divorce, all because of someone living out this myth that one has to be in a heterosexual relationship in order to really be a man. Does that really make sense?
Yeah. No.
Right? Does the universe really want straight people to be married to gay people? I don't buy that.
Yeah. We're all having a good laugh about that. By the way, thank you guys so much for your comments today. It's really been amazing to watch everybody banter back and forth about what they're enjoying, about what you're saying, Scott. Let's talk about the fifth one, the underworld myth. This sounds so ominous. Do I need to prepare myself here?
Yes.
In short, to Jessica, get a hold of yourself. Here we go.
In a way, it's the most tragic of all. Nothing will ever get better in my life. Nothing will ever get better. Related to the apocalyptic myth that everything was ultimately a doomsday was the idea that not only is there an apocalypse that you might be able to survive or not, but that, and is there a noise going from somewhere? I don't know where that's coming from. If not, forgive me.
I have no idea. I was muted.
Oh, okay. Well, in any event, there related to this is the idea that what other people are entitled to experience, for instance, happiness, professional freedom, wealth, all of those things will never happen to you. You won't necessarily face the end of the world or doom, but you'll never achieve happiness, fulfillment, or satisfaction. And so that is the underworld myth. In my case, I felt that I would always live a life that was looking at those of others with envy. Other people would feel spiritually happy. Other people would enjoy going to work every day. Other people would have a certain level of financial success. Other people would get to be on a podcast with Jessica Dugas, but not me. It's basically fatalism personified.
Yes. And we see this often, right? Like, and even we talked about this on My Way last night. I had the fabulous Eleanor Stutz on the show last night, who has been a pioneer in the world of sales for women since before women in sales was a thing, and talked about that earlier on this morning. And she had this whole incident where she actually broke her neck. And someone and the doctors came in and they were like, telling her family, look, she may not make it, period, let alone, walk out of here or anything like that. And she looked at the doctor and she was like, I will walk out of here. I will. I don't know what the hell you're believing, but it's not it's not what I believe.
Yeah. And you do hear that, even if you are facing a terminal illness through which there really is no escape, the idea that everything about your life in the time that you have is going to be dark, without any joy, without any sense of anything being worth living or appreciating at all, is a manifestation of the underworld myth. In my case, for instance, I worked for many, many years in these legal and executive jobs that I hated. And I never imagined that I would get to experience anything other than day-to-day misery and drudgery. And I even sort of imagined myself at one point as this gray-bearded, tired-looking, faded blue suit-wearing bureaucrat with 50 years of government service under my belt, and without having achieved or done or become anything other than that, without being able to express my own vibrance and energy, like hopefully I'm able to bring here. That to me was a vision that was driven by the underworld myth. Thank goodness I chose to break out of it.
Yes, absolutely. You mentioned the word, you chose to break out of it. Obviously, we can go through these myths and we can recognize, that them and the myths in our own lives. But what is your stance on how we start to dislodge these things? How do we get out from underneath them?
Great question. So the stories that we tell ourselves can have and be driven by the roles that we play in them. The first step to begin to dislodge these myths is to understand what role we're playing and make some choices about whether we want to stay within that role or move into something better. There are toxic roles. There are positive roles. There are 3 toxic roles that we play in our lives, which, by the way, if the underlying story of our myth were neutral, but we are actually applying those toxic roles, then we are actually making the myth toxic. And I don't remember if I just said there were 3 or there were 5 toxic roles, but the 5 toxic roles, which is what I should have said, are monster, villain, bystander, victim, and fool. The 3 positive roles that, upon analyzing the roles that we are playing in our lives and moving into a better, that put us in a position where we can move into a better place, are author, hero, and Olympian. So step number 1 is analyzing the exact roles that we are playing in our myths, and to the extent that we are playing roles that are toxic, moving into one of the non-toxic positive roles.
I love that. I have filled up a whole page. I think Amanda was talking about the fact that she was already on 2 pages, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 points ago. So we've been taking all the notes this morning. I am so excited to go down this series with you, because this is a whole rabbit hole that I'm just, I love it. I am thrilled to do this.
Definitely. Rabbit hole hour with Scott Mason and Jessica Dugas. Who wants to be anywhere else?
That's it. So this has been about dislodging the toxic myths holding you back. Let us know if you guys have any questions. Next week, we're going to be talking about building a new vision for your future. I'm excited about that one.
Exactly. What happens once you embrace one of those 3 toxic roles?
Yeah.
Take a visit to the Oracle, look inside, and amazing transformations can occur.
I love it. Amanda's on page 5. Page 5. She's on. I love it. We've written a whole book on the show today. I love it, Scott Mason. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing about these myths with us and how we can start to get out from underneath them.
Yeah, they all speak to us, as I mentioned earlier, because these myths have resonated and have addressed fundamental and foundational human concerns. But the myths are framed in terms of story. There is an ending. As the Greeks plays were identified, they could be comedies with happy endings or tragedies with sad ones. Hopefully, by identifying and dislodging the toxic myths and playing roles that are the positive ones, we can make sure that the lives that we live are those with joyful and empowering endings. Don't end up as tragedies.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, would you like to stay with us for our closing remarks, or would you like to go on about your day today, Scott?
I would love to stay here for the closing remarks. How could I say no to that?
Perfect. All right, you guys, we're going to take a quick break. We are going to hear from our friends in the Weiss Scholarship Foundation. And then we are also going to hear my friend Dorothy O'Shea's poem For Love, read by Nicole Palatine this morning in Swiss German. It's our language today. So we will be right back after this, and we'll finish up the show with birthdays, and we'll give a hug to Scott Mason on the way out. We'll be right back after this, you guys.
Imagine a world where every child gets a great education. Educating all children is the only way to end poverty. This is what the Weiss Scholarship Foundation is working to accomplish. Our 6 staff members, our mentors and coordinators, who are on the ground in Kenya, are totally engaged in every aspect of our students' lives, so we can give them every opportunity for success. In just a few short years, we have already awarded 141 scholarships. We send children to high school who would have never gone without our support. And then we help them go on to either university or vocational school. We have already scaled our holistic business model to 4 locations and are ready to scale it to many more. Today it's Kenya, but tomorrow it's more countries. Please contribute what you can today. You can make a one-time donation, a recurring donation, or choose to sponsor a child all on your own for all 4 years of high school for just $3,500. Go to our website, www.weissscholarshipfoundation.org.
Für die Liebe stehe ich ein. Für die Liebe. Für die Liebe stehe ich ein. Selbst mit verwundeter Seele, selbst mit gebrochenem Herzen. Für die Liebe stehe ich ein. Denn die Welt ist schwer getroffen. Nicht nur mein kleines Fleckchen Erde, wo ich mich meistens in Sicherheit wähne, wo ich mich meistens wohlfühle, sondern die ganze Welt, überall, jeden Tag. Für die Liebe stehe ich ein. Denn wir brauchen mehr Licht, nicht noch mehr Tote, nicht noch mehr Macht, nicht noch mehr Bomben. Für die Liebe stehe ich ein. Sodass unsere Kinder in Sicherheit sind, sodass unsere Grenzen offen sind. Für die Liebe stehe ich ein, selbst mit verwundeter Seele, selbst mit gebrochenem Herzen.
Welcome back to Project Joy Live. That was a For Love poem by our mutual friend, Dorothy O'Shea.
She's amazing.
Yes, she is. Read beautifully this morning by Nicole in Swiss German. I didn't even know, listen, I'm learning so much by helping Dorothy with this project. I didn't even know some of these languages existed.
That's the beauty of podcasting. You learn so much, it's ridiculous. My mind is blown every day.
Yes, absolutely. And DJ's like, where can we get the book? What is going on here? And thank you, Juju, for standing for love with us this morning. We appreciate you. So listen, we have a tradition to celebrate birthdays. Do you know anybody that has a birthday today, Scott?
I don't know that I do, but I love being part of celebrations about that.
Yes. And I actually didn't have anybody on my list that had a birthday today, but I know that Sue, that regularly participates in the For Love reading at the crack of dawn for us here in the U.S. Each morning with Dorothy. It was her mother's birthday today, and I know she was going to honor her mother and putting some flowers out and whatnot today. So we wish Miss Sue some peace today and wish your mom a happy birthday as well on the other side. In the celebrity world, one of the most fabulous actresses that was just amazing, Audrey Hepburn's birthday was today. Yes. Yes, absolutely. From NSYNC, Lance Bass' birthday is today. Happy birthday. Tearing up my heart, Lance. Jackie Jackson had a birthday today. And also, I did not know this. It's also Katherine Jackson's birthday. Did you know that they shared a birthday? From Jackson's mom, the mom of the Jackson 5, Katherine, and then the son, Jackie, they shared a birthday today.
I love it. I love it.
No
Well,
idea.
What would life be without the Jacksons and the Jackson 5? Shake your body down to the ground, Jessica.
Yes, absolutely. It is also actor Will Arnett's birthday. Singer in the Christian music, Chris Tomlin's birthday is today. And country singer Randy Travis had a birthday today as well. So lots of musical people. There's always, yesterday was Bing Crosby, James Brown. I feel good. Yesterday was good. So are we ready for our birthday song today? Oh, listen, Angelique knew that they shared a birthday because she's up on this stuff. I had no idea. But see, I also get this because you have a family as large as the Jacksons, it's bound to happen. Like in my family, my 2 youngest girls share a birthday as well, 2 years apart. So it just happens.
It's adorable.
The kids keep coming. They share a birthday eventually is what happens. All right, you guys, birthday song time. Here we go. Drum roll, please. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Audrey Hepburn, Lance Bass, Jackie Jackson, Katherine Jackson, Will Arnett, Chris Tomlin, and Randy Thomas. Happy birthday to you. Yes. Thank you, Scott. Nobody ever wants to sing with me. I'm like, what is wrong with you people?
The fact that I can't sing is a toxic myth.
That's true. It is true. We need to dislodge that myth, Scott.
Exactly.
Scott, tell everybody where they can find you today.
Thank you.
Or anything.
Follow me on LinkedIn, S.Scott Mason. If you enjoy thinking about myth as a framework for transformation, every day I post a Greek myth and then interpret it in light of thinking around transformation in a business and professional context, and as an object lesson for how one can begin to find professional freedom. You can also find me on Instagram at s.scott_Mason. That's s.scott_Mason. You can also check out a podcast that I've been hosting for a couple of years by the name of Purpose Highway at purposehighway.com. Someone in the room has talked to me about the Greek gods and goddesses and her own breakthroughs on an episode of that podcast. And that, along with every other episode of that podcast, is and will be well worth listening to.
Absolutely. And I don't know who you're talking about. I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe it was Donna Summer.
Coming
back from the dead for an interview.
Yes, absolutely. I love it. I love it so much. Thank you so much for being here today, Scott. And I will say this, this mythology stuff inside and out. And I've shared this before. I cannot wait for my episode to come out because I was so nervous. I was so intimidated. I'm like, oh my God, I had to go consult with the teenagers because they're learning like the myths and stuff in school right now. So I'm like, who better to talk to? And so I talked to but Scott creates such a comfortable, beautiful environment. And it was so much. I can't wait till the episode comes out. It's going to be amazing.
And I've got to say, one of the things that was fun and unique about that episode was the way the conversation about myth as personalized to you managed to bring in one of your signature elements, which is hair. We talked at length about hair, and that's awesome, right? mythology and hairstyles.
We always have to talk at length about my hair. There's a lot of it. There's a lot of it to go on. Listen, thank you guys so much. Juju said thank you for sharing your experience and wisdom. DJ is celebrating out there. I want to thank Amanda for being here today. Angelique. We had lots of people out here. Jason, I saw you pop in too. Was there any hockey last night, Jason? We didn't even talk about that today. But Jason mentioned it is, I think he said Williams syndrome month, but at any rate, we're going to mention that tomorrow, Jason. So tune in for that. Thank you, Scott, again for being here. Thank all of you for watching or listening wherever you are in the world today. And I want to remind you to make joy a priority in your life today and every day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.
You've been tuned in to Project Joy Live with Jessica Dugas, your weekday morning talk show, inviting you to start your day with a triple shot of good vibes only on the Breakthrough Show Network. Binge all past episodes of Project Joy at projectjoypodcast.com. Until next time, help us spread the joy by sharing this episode, and we'll see you soon.